Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your fourth stimulus package and news update. We have a lot of news to get into in today's video, but first, if you would like to receive 2 free stocks from Webull valued up to $2,300, make sure to claim them by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. Okay, so the U.S. Congressional Budget Office announced yesterday on Twitter that they will be releasing estimates for individual titles of the Build Back Better Act at some point this week. They also noted that they will be aiming to release an estimate for the entire bill as soon as possible. Per their website, they said, when we determine a release date for the cost estimate for the entire bill, we will provide advance notice. So this is both good and bad news for progressive Democrats. Good, because this is what centrist Democrats, led by Josh Gottheimer, said they needed in order to vote on the Build Back Better plan next week. Bad, because, well, it looks like they won't have all the estimates until some date in the future. This means if Gottheimer and the rest of the centrist Democrats aren't happy with the handful estimates that they do release, they may not hold a vote on the package next week. Or if Pelosi decides to still go ahead and hold a vote on the package, more than likely, it won't get the votes that it needs in order to pass through. Of course, if they were to push back the vote on the reconciliation package, it really wouldn't be all that surprising, considering that many of the votes that they have scheduled in recent months have also gotten delayed. But as of right now, we can still expect to vote on the bill next week, and from there, it'll move on to the Senate. Once the bill reaches the Senate, much of the bill will end up being debated on and changed before going back to the House for a possible final approval. So we can definitely expect a long, drawn-out process before the Build Back Better Act ends up getting signed into law, if Democrats can even get it done. And some other news, with most Democrats finally passing the bipartisan infrastructure bill, many people still wonder how money will be dispersed to each state. The Deputy Press Secretary does her best to explain just that.
I still don't really understand how all the money is going to be allocated. For the broadband piece, the Secretary made very clear states are going to get a finite amount of money, they'll distribute it, the rest will be allocated based on need. For all the rest of the money, how will it be distributed? Does it go to states first? And will the federal government determine what projects that they will be assigned to?
So I don't have the specifics for you right now, but I can tell you the agencies that will be involved on the specific components, right? So Department of Transportation on how this will improve will be in charge of how this improve our ports, rails, bridges, and our supply chain, right? That's kind of obvious there. The Department of Interior is going to be on strengthening the climate resilience and the impact of Native communities. We have the Department of Energy, which it's going to be focusing on repairing our electric grid. Department of Commerce on getting high-speed internet to every American, as we just heard from the Secretary herself. You have the Environmental Protection Agency, and they're going to be replacing lead pipes and addressing pollution. So those are kind of how it's going to be broken down into agencies. The specifics on that, I don't have to share with you today, but I promise the Secretary talked about this just now, which is transparency is going to be key here. And so we're going to make sure that the American public and all of you know how we're going to move forward on implementing this.
The Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, recently said the infrastructure bill is a godsend for his state of Kentucky. During a speech in Moorhead, Kentucky, McConnell said that his state received a C- on their report card from the Society of Civil Engineers. To that, McConnell said that he was surprised they even got a C, being that they have so many infrastructure needs, both in rural areas and with big bridges. Mitch McConnell happened to be one of the 19 Republican senators who voted in favor of the infrastructure bill in the Senate, a bill that Donald Trump is now heavily criticizing. As I stated in yesterday's video, Trump has been heavily critical of McConnell and the other Senate Republicans for helping the Democrats to pass the bill, saying that they should be ashamed of themselves. Before the bill was passed to the Senate, Trump was already being heavily critical, stating Joe Biden's infrastructure bill is a disgrace. If Mitch McConnell was smart, which we've seen no evidence of, he would use the debt ceiling card to negotiate a good infrastructure package. Other than Trump's disliking for the bill, some Americans also fear continued inflation taking place. According to the Deputy Press Secretary, though, economists are saying the bipartisan infrastructure bill, in addition to the Build Back Better Act, will actually help ease inflation. In other words, even though we'll be spending more money, we won't see any additional inflation take place. Watch.
After Congress has passed the infrastructure bill, how much can the American people expect that inflation will be reduced as a result of that over the next 12 months, say?
Yeah, I don't have a specific number for you. I'm happy to talk to our economics team and get something more granular there. But as we've heard from experts, whether it is an economist expert or the 17 Nobel laureate economists have said that this bill, the Build Back Better Act and bipartisan infrastructure will ease inflation. So that's really important. That's something that we we, when we talk to, when we hear members are afraid of going big, we say, well, this is going to actually help us in the long run, especially as we see with prices going up, we see the inflation continuing to be out there. And so that is really an important message that we have. I don't have, like I said, a granular number for you, but we know this from economists who have said that these two bills will help do that.
So I'm pretty sure it would be welcome news for most Americans if inflation does begin to ease. However, in the short term, many families still need to find a way to get by. In a recent report, again, not that it's too much of a surprise, but Thanksgiving dinner could be the most expensive in history. According to a senior economist at the American Farm Bureau Federation, food prices are up 3.7% so far this year, which is a good bit higher than the 20-year average of about 2.4%. One example of this is the fact that turkey and all the trimmings will cost 4 to 5% more this year than just 1 year ago. Back in 2020, the cost of preparing the holiday feast came in at just under $47, the lowest level since 2010. And not long ago, the White House press secretary was asked about the high prices for Thanksgiving and what she expects to see happen in the future.
New York Times this morning about the cost of Thanksgiving could be some of the highest that we've seen in a long time. We've obviously heard the president talk about gas prices as well. He was asked last week on that CNN town hall. Would there be a price that gas would have to get that the president would say, okay, now's the time to tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve?
Well, the president reserves a range of options, and he is certainly quite mindful of the impact of any increased cost on the American public. There are a range of factors here which we could delve into, but I will say that on gas prices, one of the issues that Jake referenced, and obviously as we have more details on what this may look like, we'll share it with all of you, is being able to raise our concern and the president's concern about supply issues as it relates to oil, and that's something that certainly he can do on the international stage, and there's a power of the president of the United States engaging on that front. That issue has been raised at Jake's level, at a range of levels throughout government, but certainly the supply and OPEC and putting additional pressure on OPEC is something that certainly our national security team will continue to do. I will also note that as it relates to gas prices, we remain concerned about trends we have seen where even as supply has increased at times over the last several months, we've still seen heightened prices. The FTC, we've asked the FTC to look into that. They've said they were doing that. But as it relates to costs, there's a number of steps. So let me just give you just a brief update on one step we are taking at the ports that is new, kind of new information. One, I would note that and this is not about gas prices, but just about the movement of goods, which is certainly something that is impacting, I think, a lot of people across the country. One, I would note, and I thought this was an interesting fact, both ports, the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, that we've talked about a lot because of the huge amount of volume that goes through them, are moving an unprecedented amount of cargo this year. So one of the challenges, we've talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to put some numbers on it. Both ports are moving 19% more containers than at the same point in 2018, which was the previous record. And the ports remain on target to outpace the previous record of 17.5 million containers processed in 2018. That's because of a range of factors. People are buying more things online. People are in a better, not everyone, but a lot of people, data-wise, across the American public, are in a better financial situation than they were a year ago, so they're purchasing more goods. And what we're seeing right now are terminals are filled with containers that have been sitting around for days without getting picked up, and that holding goods in these containers, and that is obviously a challenge. So yesterday, I just wanted to note that the ports announced they will address this problem and no longer let carriers use the ports as warehouse space, and this will hopefully help move things a little bit more quickly. And starting on November 1st, for the first time, the ports will charge carriers $100 per container scheduled to be moved by truck that has sat on that port for 9 days and more, and $100 per container scheduled to be moved by rail that has dwelled 3 days or more. The charge will increase $100 per container per day. So I'm using that example just because we are continuing to press on ways to address issues in the supply chain, which some are at ports, some are at rails, some are at limited in drivers, et cetera.
So she mostly talks about gas prices and what Biden may plan on doing about that, but they also touch base on the other supply chain issues where they do hope that things improve in the near future. Let's hope so anyways. Okay, so before I wrap up the video for today, I just wanted to issue a quick reminder that most Americans should be receiving their 5th child tax credit payment next week on Monday. After that payment, you should expect to receive the last one on the 15th of December, where at that point, you'll be able to claim the other half of your payment as a credit when you go to file your tax returns. If the Build Back Better Act does end up getting passed and signed into law, you can expect these same payments to take place in 2022. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you would like to receive a couple of free stocks from Webull, make sure to quickly claim them by clicking my link in the description box below. To receive the first stock, you will need to fully open an account. Then to receive the second free stock, which will be valued up to $2,000, you'll need to make a qualifying deposit of at least $5. And even if you aren't all that interested in investing or continuing to invest at this point in time, you can always sell the free stocks that you receive and transfer that money, however much they're worth, right back to your bank account. So free stocks or free money is completely up to you. So once again, I hope everyone has a great and safe rest of their day. If you did find the content in this video helpful and you enjoyed it in whatever way, I would greatly appreciate if you give me a like, a big thumbs up. That does help out with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, I'll see you in the next